Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Faith, and today guys I'll be checking out Piers Morgan as he debates the Barbie movie. And you guys, I'm super excited as always. If you're here to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing, give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what Piers Morgan had for us in this video.
Well, to debate the Barbie backlash is Nomiki Cox, the director of Matriarch. And here in the studio, lifelong Barbie fan Esther Krake, who I have to say looks absolutely fantastic. That's a look you should keep. I mean, we can all agree on this. Also joined by socialist and author. We can be a socialist author, actually. Grace Blakely, who came as Barbie last week, to be fair, but has not got the memo today. Plus, appropriately stuck in the middle of his strong female panel is Chris Taylor, who plays one of the Kens in the actual movie, which is now one of the biggest movies of all time. And he was in Love Island. So I may have to finally concede that somebody connected with Love Island has actually done something with themselves, which is an incredible moment of realisation and self-awareness. Well, thanks for joining me, everybody. Before we get down to some serious Barbie-related debate, I want us all to feel comfortable.
Let's go party.
There
we go. We're now in Barbie world. Okay, where do we start here? Let's start with you, Esther, because you look fantastic and you saw the movie today. I've written a column for the Sun and the New York Post, actually, same column. Just because I feel, when I hear the word patriarchy, as often as it's said in this movie, immediately I'm like, here we go again. Here we go again, this sort of construct that, despite everything that's happened in the last 50 years, all men are awful till they prove otherwise, all women are downtrodden, oppressed, and if only it wasn't for ghastly men, they'd be ruling the world. You know, Lily Allen said she went to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, and the clear conclusion was if women were in charge, none of that would have happened, right? I mean, it is exhausting to me.
I mean, I suspected this would happen when we started having a conversation about whether Barbie's a feminist icon. And I just thought to myself, why does Barbie need to be a feminist icon? Anyone who's grown up with Barbies knows that she's just a doll that girls like to play with. And then 10 seconds into the film, I'm just being shoehorned with this ideology, this, patriarchy this and feminism that, and I'm just thinking it's a giant catfish of a film. It's like going on a date wanting to see J-Lo and then, I don't know, at the other end you see someone like Lizzo, for instance. It's completely unnecessary. Why can't we just have a film about dolls? The people that made this film have never seen any of the other Barbie animated films because it's completely unrelated. It's a giant catfish. And I just think...
And all the Kens, and no offence, Chris, we're going to come to you in a moment, all the Kens
are dumb.
They're such dumb dweebs. I mean, it's like they've come off the set of Love Island or something.
But this is the problem. They're so incompetent. And it's like, and at the end of the film, they try and say, oh, but we're all humans and we're all equal. Okay, but you've painted half of humanity as incompetent half-wits. So exactly how does that work?
Nomiki, you represent the matriarchy, which is another awful sounding word. It seems to me what the movie really wants to do is just replace the patriarchy with the matriarchy. In other words, go from one thing which every woman apparently believes is the problem with the world and flip it round so that the people who suffer the problem and the oppression and are made to look like downtrodden imbeciles are men, not women. I don't really get that. Why is it so awful, this atriarchy syndrome? Why replace the P with an M?
Well, we're like in late stage capitalism. The world's on fire right now. Women are losing their fundamental rights, at least in my country, left and right. We still don't make equal pay on the dollar. We're doing emotional labor. We're doing physical labor. As the beautiful America Ferrera just said in she had a moment in her long speech. That is why we want to replace the patriarchy, which is very top down, into a more communal, democratic way of living, which is the matriarchy. And back when we had matriarchies, it was more democratic. Crete, the famous island of Crete, had a matriarchy where they didn't go to war, and then everything was communal. So I don't really see a downside of this. I mean, right now.
So you think, just to be clear, you think if women ran the world, there'd be no warfare?
I think that we have different ways of dealing with conflict than men do. And if it was a majority female-led environment, we would not be in a lot of these circumstances.
Really?
I mean, even
you think women never engage in conflict? Is that a joke?
I say we engage in conflict. Everybody engages in conflict. We're humans, but we don't engage in conflict the same way. And I think this was satire. It was art. I'm sorry if some people wanted it to be a kids' movie, but the best art, whether it's The Wizard of Oz or Barbie is really a reflection of the times, is a reflection of the struggles. And frankly, I don't know. You said that you've never seen a movie like this. When I saw that Marilyn Monroe movie, who was a complicated, beautiful artist, genius, they made her out to be it was despicable. It was an assault on women. So how about most movies out there do make women feel uncomfortable? And my God, it's art. Have a sense of humor. There was satire. It was attacks on capitalism, climate change, warfare. It was fun. It was layered.
Right.
It was complicated, like women.
Before I bring in Ken, let me just bring in Grace. I know you're not into the whole Barbie thing particularly, but patriarchy you're definitely into, right?
Yeah.
You do
I'm
think...
so into it. I'm so into patriarchy.
No, but are you? I mean, does the patriarchy really exist?
An obvious end point of the very successful attempt that we've had within most capitalist societies for liberal elites to basically take over and commodify the feminist critique, which was a critique of capitalism. This is a massive box office, hitting movie made by a huge multinational corporation that's going to make loads and loads of money, that also uses exploitative labor practices all around the world. The problem is, it's not like there was Ariana Huffington famously said the financial crisis wouldn't have happened if it had been Lehman Sisters instead of Lehman Brothers. That's obviously completely wrong. I personally don't even buy the idea that there are these huge insurmountable differences between men and women. The problem is capitalism. That's why we have gender inequality. That's why we have racial inequality. That's why we have all these different forms of inequality. And unless we get that fixed by taking down big corporations like Mattel, everything's going to stay the same.
That's fine. I have no problem with you believing that. That's fine.
I'm glad you have no problem with me believing that. I'm glad we agree that I have the right to believe what I believe.
Can we just leave Barbie out of it? I don't mind them making this trash heap of a film.
Quite hard to leave Barbie out of it when you're literally dressed like Barbie.
Yes, but let's rename the film to some pink feminist like child film. Let's do that, because this Barbie film is not Barbie related at all. Anyone who's seen any of the Barbie films, any of the animated series, who's grown up with it, this is not Barbie related at all. Ken is not a half-wit. Barbie is not ideologically incoherent in the way that she is in the film. Let's just separate the two.
Well, let's bring in the smirking half.
Shall I weigh in on that?
All right, Chris. Hey, first of all,
Piers, you've been really mean so far.
No,
You've made a Love Island slur.
I
thought this
I'm
was an insult on men.
I'm making a change. I have a historic thing about Love Island, which I'm sure is very aware of. Let's put that to one side. Look, it's incredible you're in this movie,
Thanks.
which is now one of the biggest grossing films in history. First of all, how does that feel?
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
I mean,
Pretty
you're on
great,
Love Island, and now you're in the biggest movie in the world.
Yeah, it's fairly
Not a normal
overwhelming.
progression for Love Island.
No, not really. Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
And the story about how you got this is equally mind-blowing. You
Yeah.
go to some premiere of a movie, and you end up, or you're not there, and your mates are, you end up going to Margot Robbie's after party.
Yeah.
And she turns out to be a massive Love Island fan,
Yeah.
including you.
Yeah.
She knows who you are.
Yeah. And then I started talking about male genitalia, and the rest is history.
Was this true?
Yeah, no, I didn't make that up.
You
that's
talked
true.
about someone you knew with a micro penis.
A friend of mine, he has a micro penis, yeah.
As in, how big?
I've not got a ruler out next to it, Piers. I don't know
You
exactly.
were telling Margot Robbie.
It's small.
Tiny.
It's I'd say inch.
And then you have a mate
from
with very large testicles, is that right?
My dad's best mate has very big bollocks, and he can carry
And
12
this is
bottles
how
of beer
you
on it.
managed to get inside Margot Robbie's head to end up playing Ken. It's a
Maybe,
true story.
I don't know. That is what happened, but I will say I panicked. I panicked, and I just said whatever came to my head. And it was relevant. Like, people were talking about penises, but we're not here to debate this. This is
I actually find that
I
the
was
most...
so intrigued about
I found the most riveting thing
This
of all.
sounds like one of those stories where it's like, oh yeah, my friend needs advice about something.
Yeah. And this is how you basically wooed Margot
Talking
Robbie
about
to get you
myself.
in the movie, right? Next
Yeah.
thing, 18 months later, you're in Barbie.
I'm in Barbie, yeah.
All because of that conversation.
All because of micro penises and big balls, yeah.
Now, you get there, you're one of myriad Kens. My impression of them is they're basically depicted as a bunch of losers. And that if I made a movie flipping this round and depicted women the way that this movie generally depicts men,
Yeah.
all hell would break loose. Do you accept that?
I accept that, but I feel like you're missing the point. So I think everyone's missing the point a little bit. Like, so it's a comedy, right? And we're in very dangerous territory when we start picking out comedy and saying, oh, you can't say that, because then we're going to live in a world where comedy
I'm not saying they can't say
exist.
it, but there's a distinct political and social point they're making about the patriarchy, which is rammed home again and again
I get that.
and again.
What I'm getting to is the overarching comedy, the overarching joke of the entire film is you're looking at Barbie, which is played with by children, mostly girls, and this is how they play with Barbies and Kens. Barbie is the primary character, and Ken is the secondary character that comes in and out a little bit and is widely disregarded because the girls see themselves in the Barbie and not so much the Ken.
This idea,
and that's
yeah,
just
but
an
hang on,
interaction
look,
thing.
Chris, my problem with it is this idea that you go into the real world from Barbie land, where all the women are in charge, and the real world, suddenly you're confronted with this vile place run completely by men, and they're all awful, even down to the depiction of the company that makes the Barbie dolls, which is so different to the reality of that company. Female president for 30 years, half the board now are women.
Yeah.
It's not run by a bunch of madmen executives, as this film wants you to believe. There is no overt sexism from the company because it was basically run by women.
I don't think Mattel would want people to believe that. I think what you're missing is the fact that it's a joke. And a lot
But
of
he's got you there.
But we're the butt of the joke.
No, because listen, right?
Who cares?
Listen, comedy.
Exactly. No,
Grow up.
I
Stop
totally
being such a
agree.
snowflake.
I totally agree.
It's a free
And yet-
market capitalist society. The film made money. What's wrong with
Miss
that?
Blakely, I totally agree with you. My point is, if I made the movie and flipped it and was mocking women like this, you would be leading the charge. I'd be hung, drawn and quartered, probably executed. It's the hypocrisy at the heart
Let's
of
stop
And then
making
you would
comedies.
say,
Let's
oh,
never
they're
make
all-
comedies anymore.
No.
And then you would say-
You can make them, but where you're making a very deliberate point, promoting feminism and using patriarchy as a stick to beat all men till they can prove otherwise, I have a problem
And then
with
if
it.
women come on your show and say, oh, I've got a problem with this, you say, oh, shut up, snowflake.
Hold on,
That
hold
is the whole debate that we've had in recent years.
Well,
Like, you
here's
can't
the
say anything
thing.
about anything because you're a
Here's the
snowflake.
thing.
Men are being snowflakes about Barbie. I don't even like the film.
No, you're missing my point. You're totally entitled.
Excuse me.
I haven't seen it, I'm sorry.
I think you're
Go
missing
and
the
watch
point.
it.
I'm
Okay.
not asking for Barbie to be cancelled. Obviously, everyone's enjoying it. My
No, you're asking for
my
film to
wife
be
and
cancelled.
daughter went to see it in LA a couple of days ago. They loved it, right? Fine. My problem is with the argument it promotes. I'm allowed to criticise that. That's called free speech, right? I'm not trying to silence.
And I'm allowed to
Barbie.
call you a snowflake for criticising.
Yes, you are, but you're missing the point about why I'm criticising it. I'm criticising the hypocrisy. If you flipped it round, Esther, if I made a movie which lampooned women like this from a very male-dominated position, all hell would break
The thing
loose.
is, it is hypocrisy. I take offense with the fact that you think this is a comedy. It wasn't funny at all. And also, there is something
people
like this
think
that
it is.
actually mocks women. It's called a Dave Chappelle special. And every time he comes out with a new special, we need to cancel him because he's punching down on the poor women. The reality is, this film is a giant catfish, and you use the Barbie name to try and shoehorn these ideologies into a kids' film. And you can call it a comedy if that's your standard of entertainment. That's fine. And I don't really have a high standard of entertainment. I watch Love Island. I watch Fast and Furious.
And also,
But Barbie
how are they
is
selling?
ultimately-
How are they selling this? Let me go to Namiki for this. How are they selling this feminist utopia? I'll tell you how they're selling it. They're selling it by choosing the hottest woman in Hollywood, Margot Robbie. Everyone thinks that, male and female. And she produces it, I think. Right?
Yeah, her production
So she's making tens, probably hundreds of millions of dollars as the hottest woman in Hollywood in every sense from a movie which makes out all women are oppressed by the patriarchy. Forgive me if I laugh. She's the walking, breathing embodiment of someone who's making the patriarchy look like a bunch of losers, isn't she?
No, I don't agree with that at all. And I think historically, there are a lot of women who had to use whatever tools were available to them. She is beautiful. She's also a brilliant actor. She's also extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
She's also well spoken, as are all of the women and men, by the way, in that film. Ryan Gosling is not getting, the attack the way she is. But furthermore, that's capitalism. And until capitalism fails, which I think is the patriarchy, by the way, I think the patriarchy is capitalism. Until it fails, people are going to do whatever they can to survive. I mean, that is
At what point would you have to accept, on behalf of the matriarchy, that the patriarchy doesn't really exist anymore, and that basically most women I know are running rings around blokes? At what point do you admit that?
I think you're literally in a bubble, and do not open the newspaper, because the way that women are under attack in the United States right now is jaw-dropping. I mean, with the ban on abortion, the ban on women's health clinics, women being targeted, rise in domestic violence, not to mention that our pay has not moved in ages. There's a declination in women in leadership, even though we think we should be at some sort of a parity at this point. It's the way that women in the press and in the public are attacked by online campaigns, by corporations, by the right
You
wing.
don't think men are?
By you?
Have you
No, I
spent
don't
even a
actually.
minute
I
in my
don't.
Twitter feed? Trust me, this
Why is
idea
it- why are we-
only women get trolled on Twitter.
But no, this
it's
is-
ridiculous.
Wait, but I wanna have one more thing.
Namiki,
Why is
Absolutely
90%
ridiculous.
of the
Great.
show
It's important
on
because
this
actually this is the problem when we get the commodification of feminism, is that we get this idea that feminism means like every, CEO of every corporation being a woman or having 50% of women on boards. That's not the lived experience of the vast majority of women, alive. The vast majority of women actually live in, either in very poor countries where they're denied education, or they live, in situations where they experience domestic violence. Here in the UK, 1 in 3 women will experience sexual assault at some point in their lives. That's what life is like for most working class women. And you can't get rid of that by just saying, oh, we're going to make a couple of, prime ministers or CEOs women. That's the problem with liberal.
And you don't think young men ever get assaulted?
I mean, I do, but they don't get assaulted to the extent that women do.
That's not the point you're making.
You don't think who gets stabbed in the streets? It's very rarely women. It's young men by men, right?
I think we can agree.
So there are different forms.
Violence is a problem, but it's not.
There are lots of male victims of violence.
Right? I think
we didn't say sexual violence.
Yes, I did. I said sexual violence, right? Which is a deep problem in our society.
Yeah.
Is actually, if you look at it within and outside the home, more common than what you're talking about, kind of gang violence on the streets, and it happens to women so much. And when it's part of a bigger narrative about racism, then it's fine to talk about violence against women. When we're actually talking about how we tackle violence against women, unless it's a part of this wider agenda, the cultural agenda, nobody cares. And that's a problem.
Well, I care. Ken, last word to you. You're Ken to me.
Right. I wait with the bated breath.
What, last word from me?
Your last word.
I think
as the resident Ken.
I think everyone's just missing the point. It's a joke. Greta Gerwig has done a good job of navigating a potentially massive minefield. You're right. If it flipped, it would be a different story. But ultimately,
that's my
point.
point.
I'll admit that. Right. But we're talking about a doll that was made in 1959 to empower women.
It took you 18 minutes, but you got to a place of saying,
that's
Piers,
beside the point.
I agree with you.
That's beside the point.
By the way, I want to end on that.
It's about women empowerment.
There was only one.
Power to women.
Yeah, all right, enough virtue signaling, mate. You've ticked all the boxes. I'm going to end by giving women what they really want from their Ken. It's this.
Come on, Piersy, let's go party.
That is terrifying.
That's a proper Ken. There's another one here.
There we go. That's heavily photoshopped.
It's not at all.
I have no words.
This is I've got a whole raft of Ken pictures
here. I have nothing
to
say.
That is terrifying.
Esther's
really
gobsmacked. She's been silenced by the glory.
Speechless.
Thank you. Let's leave it on that. Rendered silent by the glory of my Kendom. Thank you, Chris. Congratulations, mate. Margot Robbie is one of my favourite actors. Probably is my favourite actress. I met her at an Oscars party. She was fabulous.
Did she tell you about how she likes Union?
No, we talked about cricket.
Big fan of Union.
We talked about cricket. She's an Australian, unfortunately, and right now, it's the last thing I want to talk about is cricket. But at the time, there was no Ashes series. We had a great conversation. Lovely woman, very talented. Couldn't be happy that a woman is making hundreds of millions of dollars out of her looks and her talent in the patriarchy. What a miracle. How's she doing it? It's incredible that some woman is able to do that and break through this towering sexist mayhem which inhibits all women I know, including these two downtrodden, oppressed female creatures in front of me, who I know just never feel they can even speak unless I let them. Right, ladies?
Of course.
So true.
Chris, great to see you. And congratulations, seriously.
Cheers.
From Love Island to the world's biggest movie, that is a trajectory I never thought I'd ever witness. So you
can't slate us anymore.
I can't slate you anymore. I can't slate you anymore.
An Oscar-worthy meteoric rise.
It's amazing, and I genuinely kudos.
Thank you.
That was such an interesting debate, and I really had fun hearing all their views and what they think about this Barbie movie. And you guys, let me know what you think about this Barbie movie if you have seen it. I haven't seen it, so I do not even have much to say. But from what people have been saying, do you think that Barbie is a feminist icon? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. I really enjoyed this debate so much. If you did enjoy watching, give it a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And this is me officially signing out. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.